The answer to the question everybody wants to know. LeBron, what's your decision?
In this fall, man, it's very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
The wait is over.
Welcome to the good life.
And after all the talk, all I gotta say is
I feel like I want to rage right now.
you're all welcome, like we always do with this town.
Great defensive play by Sherry, and now Kizel comes back the other way. Backs down on his hands, right back pass, and Sherry throws it down yet again. Ryan Sherry's flushing it home.
Middlebury and the NESCAC in general is simply a step up from these weaker conferences. Unless you have team defense and team offense, you cannot beat the best teams in the country.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to WRMC 91.1 Middlebury College Radio. Alongside Jeff Hetzel, this is Damon Hathaway taking our talents to Battelle Beach. Our new showtime for the spring semester, Thursday afternoons from 2 to 3:30. Nailed it on the first attempt. None of this AM, PM nonsense that we had on the weekends.
Yeah, I really struggled through our last semester. Every time we came on, Damon would say we were 11 to 12:30 AM or 11 to 12:30 PM, neither of which were correct.
It's a lot harder than it seems.
12:30 p.m.
But we are a sports talk radio show.
This isn't a trade school, so how much can they expect of us here?
This is our sixth semester on the air, going back to the days of Justin Repo Collins.
Rest in peace.
If he's out there listening to us, it's been a great journey. We started off.
Have we had pretty much every day of the week now?
We started off Friday nights from 1:30 to 3 p.m. or a.m. The p.m. a.m. is always tough. And since then we've had Mondays, we've had Sundays, we've had Thursdays now. So we're getting there.
Some other things probably we could make up a few. I'm sure no one's been chronologuing it.
But we've got a ton to talk about. This is gonna be a basically 100% Middlebury basketball radio show. The Panthers 22-2 now on the season. They're headed to Amherst this weekend to play the NESCAC semifinals and hopefully the NESCAC finals as well. They play Williams on Saturday at 3.
The winner of that game plays the winner of Amherst Tufts Sunday afternoon. Right now, Amherst is the top-ranked team in the conference. That's why they're hosting. Williams is 2, Middlebury is 3, Tufts is 4. So chalk one out in the quarterfinals. But a lot of good teams there this weekend. Anything could happen this weekend. So exciting because it's 3 top 10 teams in the country in Amherst, Middlebury, and Williams. So we were saying earlier, this weekend is similar in caliber to what you see in the Final Four of the Division III championship. I mean, when you have the number 2 team Amherst, the number 5 team Middlebury, and the numbers I'm not sure what Williams
7.
is at. Yeah, they're at 7 last week. I think they're still at 7. When you have 3 of the top 7 teams in the country in your conference championship, it's about as good of a weekend of basketball as you'll see at any point in the season anywhere.
And Middlebury has the potential to, whomever Middlebury plays in the finals, it will be a rematch of a 3-point game. Is that true? They beat Tufts by 3, I think, or was that a 1-point game? That was a 1-point game. So the 3 teams, right? The 3 teams that Middlebury plays against, or could play against in going forward, Williams, Amherst, and Tufts, were all decided by 3 points or fewer.
Right.
Which is pretty incredible. They're 3 very good teams. Tufts is the one team that not enough people talk about. They just got into the top 12, is it, in the regional ranking?
But they've been coming on strong. Their only 3 losses in conference play were to Middlebury, Williams, and Amherst. 3 teams who everyone lost to, except for Middlebury, Williams, and Amherst themselves. Obviously, they couldn't all beat each other. But Tufts, really a strong team, gave Amherst some trouble in their matchup a couple of weeks ago. High-scoring games.
100-89.
Yeah, Scott Anderson had 35 points, Tufts senior forward. So much talent on that Tufts team, a lot of freshmen contributing. Really a fun, interesting team. That'll be a good game. And then obviously the Middlebury-Williams game is going to be great. Last time in Williams, these 2 teams matched up. Middlebury had the lead for most of the game, but then gave it away at the end. Couldn't score in the last 5 minutes. Couldn't score a field goal in the last 5 minutes. and Williams took advantage. Williams capitalized. Middlebury will almost certainly be looking for revenge in the game on Saturday. I'm sure that, we saw after that game how disappointed they were. What a bad taste that left in their mouths. Certainly not the way the seniors want to finish their careers against Williams. So they're going to be bringing it all on Saturday, as will Williams, obviously, although Williams will be out. Almost certainly will be missing starting guard Daniel Wall, who's been dealing with sickness for the last couple of weeks. He's a big key to the Williams offense. Also one of their better defensive players, an athletic sophomore, hit the game-winning layup in the regular season matchup between the two teams. But Williams has had a couple guys stepping up in his place. Parker McClelland and John Weinheimer both stepping up, playing big-time minutes. And, Williams is a great program. They have a lot of depth, so when they lose a guy, someone else steps up. Middlebury knows what it's like to deal with injuries, and Middlebury's also done the similar thing. That's what you do at this time of the year. So the fact that they're probably playing without Wall, we don't know for sure, doesn't change the fact that they're one of the best teams in the country. It's going to be a great game.
Middlebury just about a lock for the NCAA tournament already, having gone 22-2, the fourth-ranked team in the country. The one thing that they have to be careful of, though, is right now Middlebury sits just fourth in the regional ranking. As they were passed this past week by RIC. So Middlebury 5th in the Northeast by the NCAA regional ranking, which is what actually matters when it comes to tournament berths and tournament seedings. And Middlebury, like I said, almost certainly a lock. The one thing that they have to be careful of is, should Tufts win? Tufts right now is on the outside looking in. Tufts needs a NESCAC tournament win. They need to win the tournament in order to qualify, get that automatic bid. Otherwise, they're not going to get in. And Middlebury right now is as ranked 3rd in the NESCAC in terms of the regional rankings and obviously the seeding for this tournament. They're in this as long as Tufts doesn't win. If Tufts wins and Middlebury loses to Williams this weekend, things get a little bit hairy in terms of NESCAC NCAA tournament selections, simply because it's so rare. I don't know. We don't know the last time that 4 teams from one conference made the NCAA tournament. So Middlebury has to win to guarantee themselves a spot in the NCAA tournament.
They would be the 4th team and might be on the outside looking in if they lost to Williams, right? But they can take care of it all if they just win the NESCAC championship, right. And that's what they're focused on. That's what their goal is. These seniors have yet to have a season where they didn't make the NESCAC championship. So if they beat Williams Saturday, they'll end their careers with 4 NESCAC championship appearances. They already have 1 NESCAC championship to their names. Their sophomore season, the year that the team made a Final Four run, looking for another. It'll be a great weekend, and anyone here at Middlebury who should really come down. Last year, the fans there made a big difference. The Amherst fans are always coming out. They're loud. But Middlebury responded with a nice little student section of its own last time, helped fuel the comeback, and the players always appreciate the support. So if you're thinking about going down this weekend, it's always fun to go to Lafrac, and you'll see a lot of great basketball.
Middlebury coming off of 2 games at home where they got great fan support, a 61-49 win over Wesleyan, and then earlier the week before, or in that same week, a tripled overtime loss to Amherst, which was just an incredible game, incredible environment. The Middlebury student section did a really great job in that game, supporting the team, and also just showed an uncommonly high basketball IQ over the course of those 2 games, which is always a great thing to say about your own student section.
Yeah, a great fan base. And this is our first show since those 2 games, 2 of the biggest games of Middlebury's season. Obviously, any postseason game is big with the Wesleyan game, and then the Amherst game was probably the biggest Division III regular season basketball game of the season to this point, at least to that point. And we haven't talked about that yet, so we're going to play some of our clips from our broadcast of the game to give a little recap of that for all you listeners who weren't able to hear it live. It's a game that garnered national attention, that everyone was watching by the end. we follow a lot of D3 basketball guys on Twitter, and they're nationwide guys. And by the end, everyone was talking about the Amherst Middlebury game. A really incredible turn of events, especially at the end. Definitely the best game we've ever seen in Pepin. Unfortunately, Middlebury came out on the wrong side. So to give you a little background on the game, Amherst came out really strong in the first half. They had a 14-point lead at halftime. It was looking like it might be the first time in a long time, in 3 years, that Middlebury had lost on its home court in the regular season by more than a possession. It would have been their first loss by more than a possession, or that didn't come down to the last 30 seconds or so in over 3 years since Williams, the freshman year of the current seniors. It was not looking good for Middlebury, but like they have over the last few years, they put together an inspired comeback in the second half. Led really by Nolan Thompson. They slowly cut into the lead. With about 5 minutes to go, they went on a 7-0 run, cut the lead to just 2, down from 14, with 1 minute 20 seconds remaining in the second half. And after another defensive stop, Jake Wolfen got an open look from 3.
Kizel back to Wolfen, 15 to shoot, 1:35 on the clock. Wolfen for 3. He knocks down, and the Panthers lead with 1:29 remaining. Jace Wolfen has come all the way back in this game to give the Panthers the lead with 1:22 remaining.
And then after a Peter Kosel layup put Amherst back on top, Joey Kizel drew a foul with 6 seconds remaining. He went to the line for 2 shots with Amherst up 1. After making the first, Kizel missed the second, giving Amherst a chance to win regulation.
Kizel's second is no good. Rebound comes down to Kalema. 4 on the clock, 3 on the clock, 2 now. Toomey for 3 to win. No good. We're going to play overtime here at Middlebury College, Pepin Gymnasium.
Panthers found themselves down 4 with under a minute to go in the first overtime when Jake Wolfen struck again.
Roberts gets the rebound, and now it's Kizel looking forward in transition. 35 now on the clock. Coming off the screen there, getting inside, finds Roberts. Roberts with the short floater, nothing there. Back out now, and now it's Wolfen. Wolfen for 3, over Toomey, knocks it down. Wolfen knocks it down with 24.8 remaining, and it's a 1-point game. Wolfen has done everything he possibly could here in the second half and overtime. He's got 16.
Those were the final 3 of Wolfen's 10 points in the first overtime alone. After a free throw gave Amherst a 2-point lead with 20 seconds to go, Wolfen would go to the basket again, but for the first time in the extra period, it was another Panther who found the basket.
The Panthers down 2, 17 seconds remaining. Wolfen going coast to coast. Doesn't get the roll. Roberts gets the tip. It's a tie game, 11 seconds. Toomey takes the inbound. 7 seconds as he gets to the half court. He's going to try to find a shot here. Spinning, hitting inside, goes up, gets rejected by Jensen, and that's going to end the first overtime. We're going to go to a second overtime here at Pepin Gymnasium.
So Roberts sent it into the second overtime, and the 2 teams traded leads throughout the second overtime period. After an Aaron Toomey layup gave Amherst a 2-point lead, under 30 seconds on the clock, Middlebury's guards went at it looking for an open look.
This is Kizel coming off the screen, trying to find a teammate. He finds Wolfen, 20 on the shot clock and 30 on the game clock. Wolfen going to his right, finds Thompson for 3. He knocks it down! Thompson gives the Panthers a 1-point lead with 26 seconds remaining. What drama here at Pepin Gymnasium.
So that after an Amherst missed after that, Hunter Merriman hit 2 free throws. Middlebury was up by 3, intentionally fouled Wooly Workman, sent him to the line for 2, down 3, and with 2 seconds remaining, what followed was the most remarkable play of the game, one so amazing that it made SportsCenter's top 10 plays the next day.
Workman makes the first, and now he has a chance to miss this on purpose. He misses it, gets his own rebound, and finishes! The Panthers have been struck twice by the same play in one season, and now Kizel has a chance. But it's knocked away. We're going to go to triple overtime.
As Damon mentioned, that was a nearly identical play to that of Wesleyan's Shawshaw Brown back on January 12th in the Wesleyan game. Despite the heartbreak of that play, Middlebury came out strong in the third overtime. With under 10 seconds to go, James Jensen hit a foul shot to tie game, and then Aaron Toomey got another chance at a game winner.
Jensen's second is good. Game tied. 11 seconds remaining. Nascimento's got to get back to Toomey. 8 seconds. 7, 6, 5. Toomey going for it. For 3. For the win. He knocks it down. 2.9 remaining. Kizel gets it. He's going to launch from three-quarter court, and it's going to be short off the front rim. And Amherst will get away with an incredible victory.
Pretty amazing game. There's our broadcast of it. Damon on the play-by-play. It was one in which we were about as up and down, and we were in physical pain after the game. We were just both enjoying it and not enjoying it about as much as any sports fan can, but it was an incredible game, such a thrill to watch. One team had to lose. Reminds you of the favorite quote, favorite thing in sports is winning, second favorite thing in sports is losing. It was that kind of game, just such a great thing to be a part of. For Middlebury fans who are there, they can tell you best atmosphere, especially for a regular season game here at Pepin in a long time. That's the kind of atmosphere we can expect again this weekend.
It was an incredible game. Like you said, it was the kind of game that you will always remember where you were for that game and what you were doing, whether you were watching it on a live stream or you were calling it courtside or you were in the student section. It was a tremendous finish. Both teams had such great chances to win the game. It seemed like it was destined to go on forever. Joey Kizel nearly hit a three doesn't really give it justice. A three-quarter court shot, 60-footer. At the end of triple overtime to tie the game, potentially to send it into quadruple overtime, which, I mean, after the Willie Workman play, would have been the most incredible sequence of events to end the second overtime and end the third overtime. But that game had to come to a close one way or the other, and it ended the wrong way for the Panthers. But the reaction across the board from so many people, whether it was on this campus or on D3 boards, wherever, the number of people who were watching the game who were simply astounded by what they saw, regardless of outcome, was really cool to watch and see. And the reaction, like you said, was flooding in from across the country, people who had tuned in to watch the game, former coaches, former players at both schools. It was really an incredible environment.
Joey Kizel had probably the game of his career or close to it. He had 30 points on 8 of 17 shooting, 5 for 10 from the three-point line, including a three-quarter court miss, so really 5 for 9. And then he was also 9 for 10 from the free throw line. On the other side, Peter Kostla answered him. He had 29 of his own. Willie Workman had 30, including that absolutely unbelievable free throw miss and putback that sent it into triple overtime. Other big games, Nolan Thompson had 17 points, also shut down two of the best players in the league in Aaron Toomey and Willie Workman. Aaron Toomey, the Amherst point guard, a favorite for NESCAC Player of the Year this year, and Willie Workman, their power forward, really. He's more of a point forward, but he's 6'6". Nolan Thompson went back and forth between the two of them and did an incredible job on them. In the game, we kept track of how many points they each scored. Aaron Toomey was 3 for 11 against Nolan. Willie Workman was 2 for 3. In 55 minutes, those guys combined for only 5 field goals against Nolan Thompson. So his defensive performance was as good as it's been all season. He's been an absolutely phenomenal shutdown D against all the best players in the conference. So he was really fun to watch in that game to see what he could do against Toomey and Workman, 2 of the best players in the league.
And you can't forget that he played all 55 minutes of that game. And so he didn't sit at one point during that game and had one foul, and it was intentional. He picked up one foul despite
guarding 2 of the 3 or 4 best players in the conference.
Right, and also 2 guys who don't look like him in terms of their build on the floor. One is a true point guard and a great scorer from that guard position, who to me is right around 6 feet tall, and is a very quick player. He kind of glides across the court. He slithers, and I don't mean that in a bad way. He gets into the lane. He finds openings. He's a incredibly talented player, and is not the kind of guy you would expect Nolan Thompson to guard. And then on the other end, it's Willie Workman, who's 6'5" or 6'6", and he is a point forward basically. He is, if there was a LeBron James in the NESCAC, he would look most like Willie Workman. Workman has great handle, is a great shooter, He made a number of huge threes in that game, and has great rebounding skills on both ends of the floor. I think he finished with a double-double in that game, or very close to it. Yeah, 11 rebounds and 30 points or 29 points in that game.
But both of them, when they were guarded by Nolan, he was with them like glue.
Right. So it was an incredible performance by Nolan Thompson. 17 points to go along with the things that don't necessarily show up in the box score, particularly when Willie Workman scores close to 30 points. You don't expect him to have been shut down for large parts of the second half, but he had an incredible first half.
Right.
17 points,
21, I think.
21 in the first half, something like that. And then only scored 9 or whatever it was the rest of the way through the second half and 3 overtimes. So including 3 of them that were on one play, obviously just an incredible play that, like you said, made SportsCenter. It was a top 10 play the day or the second day after the game. It was an incredible game to be a part of.
Near career games for so many guys: Kizel, Thompson, Workman, Kosela, who was huge, especially towards the end of the game on the offensive glass. Jake Wolfen came alive in the second half, led the comeback. Disappointing for Middlebury to be on the downside of it, but just had to get a quick recap in of that game. Middlebury moved on, though. They had a big game this past weekend, hosting Wesleyan in the NESCAC quarterfinals. A tough matchup for any team in the bottom half of the NESCAC. Usually you'll go into that game pretty confident. But Wesleyan's a team that underachieved from its talent level this season, and so we were concerned going into it. They have a group of seniors, best senior class in Middlebury, in Wesleyan history. They have Wesleyan's all-time leading scorer, Shaw Brown, leading the way, and then Mike Callahan and Derek Beresford, 2 1,000-point scorers, all 3 of them in their senior year. This is a Wesleyan team that was ranked in the top 25 in the country before the season started. They just were up and down throughout the season. We saw one of their ups in the Middlebury game on January 12th, when they lost in overtime to Middlebury. So we were concerned going into that one. And in the first half, they kept it close, but then Middlebury pulled away in the second half. Just a tremendous performance from the Panthers to catapult themselves into the NESCAC semifinals.
And it's reminiscent of what Middlebury did last year, matching up with Williams, another team that had a very close game within the regular season. A 1-point Middlebury win. James Wang missing a shot at the buzzer. Similar drama this year against Wesleyan. Shaw Brown going to the line down by 3, like the Willie Workman situation, with just under 3 seconds left. Makes the first, quick shoots the second off the side rim, gets his own rebound, takes a dribble, and floats a shot off the glass in to tie the game and send it to overtime. So Middlebury, 2 straight years, have had to play very talented teams. 2 teams obviously ranked in the top 25, like Williams was last year, that underachieved down the stretch. But Williams also playing with James Wang, one of the best players in EIF's team history. He was an incredible player for that program. He was hurt his senior year, a big reason why they underachieved. But Middlebury getting by really impressive competition and having to fight their way into the NESCAC semifinals and finals. And again, it's going to be at Amherst this year like it was last year. The scene of the crime for Middlebury last year, losing 2 games decided by 1 possession. One in the regular season, one in the NESCAC finals against the Lord Jeffs, and this team I'm sure has that at the forefront of their minds going into this week.
In the Wesleyan game, Nolan Thompson, an even better defensive performance. He was guarding Shaw Brown, who is the in-conference leading scorer this year, the senior, 1,700 career points, such a great player, and Nolan held him to 1 for 11 shooting. Wesleyan's offense pretty much didn't get going because of Nolan Thompson. I mean, you watch Shaw Brown trying to get anything going on offense. He's the focal point of that offense. Nolan just wouldn't let him get it near the 3-point line. Shaw Brown spent about 20 seconds of every shot clock dribbling in the backcourt trying to find a way to get to the hoop, and Nolan was just shutting down everything. So fun to watch, and after a while that just wore on them. Nolan didn't wear down, and the Wesleyan offense did, and they finished the game with only 49 points.
Certainly in the second half, Thompson was tremendous on Shasha Brown. We should also mention Derek Beresford went 1 for 10 in the game. And at halftime, Beresford, Brown, and Callahan had combined to shoot 2 for 17 from the floor. Part of that was Thompson's defense. Also, it was a great strategic approach to the game that Middlebury took. Jeff Brown went into a 3-2 zone for most of the first half that really stop ball penetration for those guards on the perimeter, and Wesleyan shot just 34% or something like that from beyond the arc over the course of the season. So Middlebury daring Beresford and Brown in particular to take open threes, or momentarily open threes, from the corners. They couldn't knock those shots down, or they chose not to take them, and it really got them out of the rhythm of their offense. Wesleyan countered by bringing in Brian Bartner, who's a pretty good three-point shooter, and then Middlebury went man against them, and it was almost to the same effect. Thompson's defense on Shasha Brown was incredible. It's been rehashed a couple of times in different places, but one of the most impressive parts of that game, and why I say this Middlebury basketball student section has such a high IQ as basketball fans, is that at one point, like you said, Jeff, Shasha Brown doing everything in his power to possibly try to get into the lane, going behind his back, crossing over on Thompson, and he could not get into the lane. Thompson there step for step with him, and Brown had to draw the ball back out after about 7 seconds of going one-on-one at Nolan in an isolation set, and the crowd basically came to its feet cheering for Thompson's man-to-man defense, which is just something you don't see, and it's a credit both to Nolan Thompson, obviously, that he is that good of a defender, but it's also a credit to the fans here at Middlebury College who have taken such an active likening to this team, that they recognize and appreciate Nolan Thompson's defense for what it is, because defensive players so often get overlooked because it's the silent part of a player's game. It's what isn't there that should be recognized, and for a crowd to realize that is pretty special.
It was a really special moment, and we can assure you, Pepin fans, you're not going to see another Nolan Thompson come through here in terms of a perimeter defender. It just doesn't get better than Nolan Thompson at the Division III level. What he's done this year, shutting down top scorer after top scorer, is incredible. And it's great that it was appreciated, because it certainly deserves appreciation.
Jeff Brown called him a once-in-a-lifetime kind of defensive player after that game. And it's so true. I mean, the Nolan Thompson story, to be a walk-on at this school 4 years ago, to start almost right away, and then to be in the discussion for NESCAC Player of the Year. I mean, he should be the unanimous Defensive Player of the Year this season, which is incredible in its own right. But he also, given his shooting numbers this season, he's over 50% from the floor, and he's over 50% from beyond the arc in conference play. He deserves NESCAC Player of the Year consideration, and we have both made a pretty strong case that he should be the NESCAC Player of the Year.
You look at his offensive numbers, and it warrants discussion. His shooting efficiency numbers are better than anyone else in the discussion for NESCAC Player of the Year. And he's averaging 14 points a game in conference play. And then you look at what he does on defense night in and night out. We made our all-conference teams the other day, and we put together our top 10 players in the conference for the first and second teams, and we realized after we made them that Nolan had shut down everyone on our all-conference team except for himself, his teammate Joey Kizel, and Michael Mayer, a 6'9" center. Everyone else, from forwards to guards, we weren't sure about including Scott Anderson. I'm not sure what our final decision was. If he was on there, that's another guy who Nolan didn't shut down. That's because he was shutting down Ben Ferris, who is Tufts' other star. They're similar caliber players, so it was kind of logically impossible for him to do both. But he shut down all of the best 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s in the conference, essentially, in the one game that Middlebury played against each of them this season. So he deserves certainly a first-team All-NESCAC nod. We're pushing him for Player of the Year. We don't think anyone's been as consistently great as Nolan in terms of bringing overall value to a team, especially during conference play.
We're going to be joined shortly on the radio show by assistant men's basketball coach Alex Popp. We're going to have to put that question to him. Nolan Thompson's candidacy for NESCAC Player of the Year. We'll also be joined later on the show by James Jensen and Joey Kizel. So an action-packed show here. It'll be all men's basketball all day, really, except we should at some point recognize what the women's basketball team has done. This is the first time in 12 years that they've advanced to the NESCAC semifinals. They went 0-10 in conference play last year, so it's just been an incredible performance by this team that lost 3 big senior contributors last year and has come together under head coach Noreen Pecksock and really done a great job winning some tough games. They had a great performance in a really exciting game over Bates just a week ago in the NESCAC semifinals. Quarterfinals. They were expecting to go down to Tufts for the semifinals and the finals, but the 1-seed Jumbos lost to the 8th-seeded Polar Bears. Just a huge, shocking upset. Tufts had 1 loss on the season going into that game, and they got ousted in the first round of the NESCAC tournament.
Yeah, great win for the women's basketball team. The energy and intensity that they brought in that Bates game, we were broadcasting the game. It was a lot of fun to watch. The excitement after winning it. I mean, for a program like that, getting back to the NESCAC semifinals is something to be so proud of, and it's great. I mean, Tracy Borsinger, one of the best players of this generation of Middlebury basketball players, the senior, gets to go to the NESCAC semifinals in her senior year, and then a lot of young players to be excited about, all stepping up their play. Great job by them, and hopefully they can put up a good fight against Amherst this weekend. Against Williams this weekend, sorry.
And that's going to be a tough matchup for them, given that they were blown out by the Eafs the first time they played them, although that was at Williams, and I think it's a different team now. They were going through kind of a rough patch in their schedule at that point, but they turned things around in the NESCAC. They went 4-6 this year in the NESCAC, which is 4 more wins than they had last year in the NESCAC, which you don't see teams do that in this kind of conference, men's and women's. It's so hard to improve your win total by 4 in one season. And again, they lost 3 huge seniors from last year's team. So really an impressive feat from this team.
Yeah, so things to be excited about in the Middlebury basketball world. This weekend, the Williams game, Middlebury versus Williams. I know you're going down for that. A lot of people are going to be watching. What do you think are going to be the keys in that game?
Middlebury's going to see a ton of zone in this game. Williams plays an aggressive 2-3 zone that we saw them play, or it's certainly aggressive on the perimeter. We saw them play that kind of defense the first time these teams played earlier in the year, January 26th, in a 1-point Williams win. And Middlebury got good looks against that zone. They missed a lot of open shots, but what they were able to do really well was get the ball inside to Peter Lynch and James Jensen. Jensen finished with 12 points and really attacked the zone, did a great job. He elevated over defenders and knocked down good looks. And then Peter Lynch, I think, had 16 points in 16 minutes of play. He was limited by a lot of foul problems and ended up fouling out of that game late. But Jensen and Lynch got great looks inside, and I would expect that they're gonna get similar opportunities to score inside, and if Middlebury can get their outside looks by getting the ball inside, kind of that inside outside look, where if Lynch and Jensen can attack that zone and they draw double teams, you're going to open up great looks for Wolfen, Thompson, and Kizel, and they've been knocking him down as the season has progressed.
Yeah, Wolfen, Kizel, Thompson, and Merriman are going to be big in terms of outside shooting that the zone creates. I think that the other keys in the game are going to be stopping Michael Mayer. He was huge in the first game. Best offensive post player in the NESCAC. Really tough matchup for anyone. James Jensen and Jack Roberts both doing their best against him in spurts. You have to limit Mayer. I expect them to go into him a lot, especially because he's their best player, and they're gonna want to rely on him in a game like this. And their other offensive players have been down a little bit. The other two things, stopping their outside shooters, Taylor Epley and James Clem. Clem was big in the quarterfinal, and then Nate Robertson, the senior, has elevated his game to a new level over the last couple games. He runs the point. He's a really dangerous player. He's the team leader, makes the offense go. So it's going to be a tough matchup defensively for Middlebury.
Joined now on the radio by men's basketball assistant coach Alex Popp. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Jeff and Damon, thanks for having me.
What's it been like this week preparing for Williams on Friday, and then not knowing who you're going to play on Saturday. What's that like for the team? What's their focus like, and how do they prepare for the week ahead?
It's been a great week so far. It's fascinating. Every coach has their own philosophy on how to prepare for a 4-team pod like we have in front of us. And it's similar to what the NCAA tournament used to be. Well, now that it's the 75th anniversary, it'll be one game a weekend. But you have 3 teams in front of you, but Coach Brown's philosophy is really just one game at a time. So really all we're thinking about is Williams and preparing for them and all that they do offensively with their point action, the chin, which is the Princeton, and the 2-guard. And then defensively, how they play their pack line defense and the 2-3 zone, which I think you guys were talking about on my way in here. So that's basically been our focus, and because of the tremendous leadership that we have, we really haven't gone through the motions, even though we haven't had a game during the week, and it's sometimes difficult to have a lot of practice time before a game, but our guys are working hard, and I think that we're doing everything necessary to prepare for the weekend in front of us.
After a 1-point loss against Williams earlier in the year where you led down the stretch as a team, what kind of adjustments do you make out of that kind of game where it seemed like you played well enough to win, but you came up just short at the end?
Sure. I think the most important thing is just to keep the foot on the gas pedal. And a couple times throughout this season, we've been in that situation. And last year, one of our only regular season losses was to Keene State. We were up 10 points with 5 minutes to go, and it's a tough spot to be in as a player on the floor, as a coach on the staff, because you don't really know, whether to keep on pressing on or to start playing not to lose. And I definitely know that playing not to lose is not the way Middlebury basketball is going to go out when we're up 10 with 5 minutes to go. So I think we learned a valuable lesson from that. But, we also know that we're right there with them. We're a team that is very competitive at the top of the NESCAC, and with a 1-point loss to them and a triple overtime loss to Amherst, I think we belong at the very top.
Can you talk a little bit about the difficulties guarding someone like Michael Mayer, a 6'9" center, inside-outside game, shooting 57% from the floor, hitting threes this season? Just how hard is it to game plan for someone like that, and how much does he contribute to and change the Williams offense?
Yeah, Michael Mayer is as good as it gets for post guys in our league and just at our Division III level across the board, across the country. And I think the best thing that Mayer has going for him, he's got shooters with him on the floor, so it really spreads things out. He can go one-on-one on the defender, and they're at his mercy because there's not too much help available, and he has all types of space to work with, and he's so dynamic and skilled, so he really takes advantage of that space.
How do you match up with a team like Williams down the stretch? Nate Robertson, the last time these two teams played, really broke down the defense late in the game, got inside, got penetration, and found open teammates. A big part of why that comeback happened. How do you guard him this time around?
Well, we've obviously gone to the film as a staff and shown the guys on the team that he definitely is a little more assertive down the stretch, and that's something we'll be cognitive of, looking to kind of neutralize Robertson for them because he is so effective late in the game. But I think the most important thing is just trying to stay in front of him, and it's easier said than done. I get that, but it's something that we're excited to at least attempt on Saturday.
You had Joey Kizel on Nate Robertson last game, but Daniel Wall was in the game. I think he was being guarded by Peter Lynch in the beginning, and then Wolfen spent some time on him. Wolfen was on Clem for a while. Wall has been out the last couple of games. He's sick. You're not sure if he's going to play in the game. How do you pair something like that where you don't know what the plan is going to be, you don't know when he's coming back, and he's a really unique offensive player that might dictate how the other matchups go?
Sure. I think as a coaching staff, you prepare for them having their whole deck, and Will played high school basketball with Merriman, and they've been talking back and forth, and we're kind of anticipating that he'll try to give it a go. I think every mono case is a little bit different, and I think he got a mild one. So if he does play, we'll be ready for that. If he doesn't play, we'll also be prepared for that. And I think the fun thing about the NESCAC playoffs is you get to play a team a second time around. and you can kind of make those adjustments, those tweaks that make you feel like you're in a better position to win the game. So that's kind of something that we've been sorting through as a staff, and it will be exciting for our guys to kind of make the adjustments to put ourselves in a better place to beat Williams.
Joey scored 66 points in the last 3 games. He's led the team in scoring in each of those in each of the last 3 games. Does he have a different mindset at this point in the season when everything starts to count a little bit more? Because he's obviously a different player when the game is on the line. He's the kind of guy you want going to the basket. Has his mentality changed? Have you seen something different from him on the court?
Yeah, I think what's fascinating about Joey is he's been like this since he was in high school, where he would kind of create for others, facilitate, let his team kind of build some momentum, and then when the game was on the line, he would kind of go for it. Similar to what you see on a game-to-game basis, now on the broader scale of a whole season, it's been the same thing. He's kind of let his teammates get acclimated with the newer lineup, no Ryan Sherry around, other guys have to contribute in a more significant fashion. And now that everybody's kind of found their legs and bigger games are rolling around, it's like the light goes off and Joey kind of just looks to make his presence felt a little bit more. And it's tremendous to have. He kind of has that in his back pocket. And now that we're playing big games and we're getting close to March, I feel as if this is Joey Kizel's, favorite time of the year.
We feel that way too. Seniors are going into their last NESCAC tournament. It's an incredible senior class. Jake Wolfen, Nolan Thompson, Peter Lynch, all have made huge contributions to the program. Can you talk first a little bit just about the leadership that the seniors bring, how they kind of set the tone for the team, and also about what the final postseason means for them, and just kind of how dialed in they are right now going into what their last NESCAC tournament, a chance to play in the finals for the 4th time in their careers, and then a chance at NCAA postseason play for the 4th time in their careers.
Yeah, I think you kind of summarized it best within that question. These guys definitely want to make their mark felt. When they graduate here this spring, I think they would love to, put another banner up if possible. But at the same time, they're committed to the process, and they know it's a day-to-day process, and they've kind of showed that by never going through the motions and being the leaders that they are, and it's kind of been a natural thing for them. I recently tweeted out and Instagrammed out a picture of Henry Pendergast, just kind of touching upon what the leadership meant to him, and I think it best summarized what those 3 bring to the table. And basically it was just they're as complete as it gets, and they're just as all around as it comes in terms of leadership. So we've been very fortunate as a staff.
I want to single out Nolan Thompson for just a second, both because of his work ethic and his leadership, but also because of his performance on the floor this year. I think a lot of people knew that Nolan was a great worker and a great leader, but I think things have really come together for him this year on both ends of the floor. He's always been a great defensive player, but to put up the offensive numbers that he has this year, we think that makes him a strong candidate, not just for NESCAC Defensive Player of the Year, but also for NESCAC Player of the Year. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, no question. There's obviously a lot of great candidates available for NESCAC Player of the Year and NESCAC Defensive Player of the Year. Last year, Willie Workman was Defensive Player of the Year, and he's arguably one of the most complete players in the conference, and he's a senior. So I think, a lot of coaches around the league will look at Willie Workman and his body of work, and then NESCAC Player of the Year, Mayer and Aaron Toomey are definitely candidates. But, obviously, Jeff, Damon, myself, we're a little biased because we get the treat of being around Nolan and seeing him on a day-to-day, and it's really hard to kind of wrap your head around it if you're not seeing it every single day. So I think we definitely feel like we have our argument that he should be NESCAC Player of the Year, and he definitely should be NESCAC Defensive Player of the Year. But for people who don't see him every single day, I think it's a little bit more difficult to kind of understand, to kind of fathom that. And it's tough to kind of just see on numbers because the kid does all the intangibles. And it's really so contagious. You look at our team and what everyone brings to the table, it's like, Nolan kind of personifies the whole unit, but guys are just growing and they're learning from what he does, and I think, that kind of stuff is just unparalleled.
If there's one thing that you want to see this team do over this weekend, over these last 2 games, hopefully in the NESCAC play, what is it?
2 things.
One or two, whatever you. What do you think this team needs to do Saturday and Sunday to be successful?
It's a great question. I think we're gonna compete. I think from watching a lot of Division III basketball throughout the course of the year, mostly New England, but a little bit outside of the region. I think our guys compete just as hard as anybody out there. So we're going to bring the A effort, and we're going to bring the championship level of intensity. I think it's just a matter of executing the game plan, knowing our personnel, knowing their personnel, and just giving it everything we have. Because as you guys know, the 4 teams left in the NESCAC semifinals are all ultra super talented, from top to bottom. They have guys who can really score the basketball, defend. Every team has length, every team has defenders. Every coach is tremendous. Everybody in the top 4 here, they run good stuff. So it's going to be really competitive, and I think that we're definitely going to be in the hunt, and we're just going to play Middlebury basketball and see where the chips lay.
One last question from me. Can you just talk a little bit about what it's like to work with Jeff Brown on a day-to-day basis as we're entering postseason play, kind of a reflection on how far he's brought this program, what an incredible job he's done. I mean, before this season, me and Damon were wondering if you guys were going to be able to replace Sherry, if we'd be back here again this year. Jeff Brown always finds a way to get his team back. He finds the guys to fill the holes. Can you just talk about working with Jeff Brown, how you have your relationship with him, and also how the players respect him and learn from him, and the tone that he sets for the team?
Yeah, I mean, I've really been fortunate to land this position and get the opportunity to work with Coach Brown. And I think, he's tremendous X's and O's guy, similar to the rest of the coaches in the NESCAC. It's a really high-level IQ type of league. But the way he can manage the Jackson Joes is what kind of sets him apart from the rest, in my opinion. He's more of a Zen-like Phil Jackson opposed to a yellow screamer like a Bobby Knight, and I've been able to learn a lot from him on a day-to-day basis, just the way he conducts himself on and off the court. And I think his demeanor is really contagious. And as you see, anytime a team gets any type of big lead on us, we've been in situations where we've been down double-digit points, and he never lets anybody see him sweat. And I think that's so contagious because we're down 13 points at Tufts. We're down 14 points against Amherst, and we come crawling back because our coach isn't panicking. And I think that's one of Coach Brown's greatest attributes, is that the guy is just, very even-keeled, and it's really contagious. And, if you ask anybody around the country who's in the coaching field, they rank Coach Brown as just the best individual human being there is out there. So, I mean, it's just tremendous to work with the guy.
Thanks for taking the time to join with us, Coach, and good luck this weekend. We'll obviously be following very closely, as will a number of people on this campus. It's been great to see the support that the team has gotten, and obviously so rightfully deserved from the student body.
Jeff and Damon, thanks a lot for having me. I will leave you guys one thing. We're supposed to get a ton of snow. So if people are looking to get down to Amherst, whether it's for the men's ice hockey or the men's basketball NESCAC semifinals, plan accordingly. Try to get down there early if you have to. And I wanted to leave you guys with one last thought. I know there's been a lot of talk on the chat boards and amongst you guys and what the all-star team should look like, or the all NESCAC team. I wanted to ask you guys what it would be like if there was an all-star game, 5-on-5, 10 NESCAC players. You'd have to pick 2 coaches. What that would be like, and just kind of food for thought moving forward.
I mean, I think we'd be in favor of anything that involves more basketball, especially with the highest level of players. I mean, Ryan Sherry went down to Salem, Virginia last year and played in the D3 All-Star game, and he had 19 points and 18 rebounds, I think, in that game. So I don't think that we would love to see Middlebury players play at an even bigger stage, because they're the kind of guys who step up and play at an even bigger level when they need to. But I think anything that involves more basketball played at a high level for us can only be a good thing.
There'd definitely be some intriguing matchups.
I don't think you'd be able to explain to Nolan Thompson how defense gets played in an all-star game.
That is true. That might be a problem.
Foreign experience for Nolan.
Hey, thanks again for having me, boys.
Thank you for coming on. Once again, assistant men's basketball coach Alex Popp joining us on the radio show. Very much a friend of the program. So we thank him again for joining us. We'll be joined shortly by Joey Kizel and James Jensen. Talk to them about some of the things we just discussed with Coach Popp and get you guys all set for the weekend ahead.
Yeah, good to talk about this coming weekend and the Williams matchup. Really, I mean, the things you take away from that, the feeling of this team that they can be in any game, is you hear it from the team, but when you watch the games, it's like it takes on a whole new meaning, because they have been in every game for the last 3 years. All their losses have been close games. And I think that the two things that Coach Popp talked about, the senior leadership and the demeanor of Jeff Brown, as well as the talent level and the work ethic of everyone on the team, play a huge factor in that. And it's so fun to be a fan of a team where you know that any game that you watch, I mean, obviously it's not a foregone conclusion they could get blown out on Saturday, but I feel more confident that they're going to be in every game I watch with Middlebury basketball than I have with any team I've ever been a sports fan of.
Right, and I think what goes into that is, like you said, there's no guarantee that they won't get blown out Saturday or Sunday, or at some point in the NCAA tournament. But the thing about consistent teams is exactly that, is what it takes not to get blown out over a 4-year stretch at any point is that you have to be able to bring the same level of effort on a consistent basis. And so if you have the talent level, like you said, and you have the work ethic and you have the great coaching, and you put those together and some combination of all of it comes to every single game, that is exactly the measure of a very competitive team, one that is going to be in every single game. And you can't look at the demeanor and the makeup of this team and point to any one aspect of it and say, I wish they had more of that, or I wish they didn't have so much of that. There are very few holes on this team, particularly when you look at it from an off the court sense, or what the things that impact basketball that are not purely basketball related. Middlebury and these coaches in particular do a tremendous job of recruiting those kinds of players who come in every year and every game to every practice, and bring the same level of intensity, the same level of work ethic. And I think that's something that's very special about this team in particular, that we, I think, will always appreciate regardless of how this season ends.
Only one other team in the country hasn't lost a game by more than a possession this season, and that's St. Thomas, the number 1 team in the country. I mean, Amherst and Williams both currently ahead of Middlebury at NESCAC standings. Williams lost a double-digit game to Amherst earlier in the season, and then Amherst lost 2 multiple possession games back in December. So the consistency of Middlebury over this season is as good as anyone in Division III hoops, and they've been doing it for the last 3 or 4 years. But neither Williams or Amherst certainly can say that over the last 3 or 4 years of NESCAC play, they haven't been blown out. They haven't lost a game by more than 1 possession. Something that Middlebury can say. Their last multiple possession loss in NESCAC play was to Williams. The freshman year of the current seniors.
Right, and then you consider that Amherst on the other end right now is working on 24 consecutive wins in NESCAC play, including tournament play or
They're
longer.
At 22
I guess.
Right now.
Right, is also tremendous. So.
Yeah, what Amherst is doing right now is incredible. The seniors on that team stepping up, Williamson, Workman, and Kosla, as well as the stud junior Aaron Toomey. I think that we talked about postseason awards. We both think that Coach Hickson of Amherst would certainly be deserving if he won Coach of the Year this year for sending his team through NESCAC play 2 years in a row undefeated. With the caliber of play in this conference right now, most competitive top-heavy conference in the country, and to go through the season undefeated, to beat Middlebury on the road, to beat Williams on the road, and then to take care of the other teams, and then to have done that last year as well is remarkable.
And Amherst, obviously, any non-Middlebury, non-Williams team over the last couple of years has had a really tough go of it, because Middlebury and Williams are travel partners, which means that anybody who wants to go undefeated in NESCAC play not only has to beat Middlebury and Williams, they have to beat Middlebury and Williams in consecutive nights, which is even more difficult when you consider the caliber of teams that both of those teams have been over the last couple of seasons. So for Amherst to do what they're doing right now is really impressive. And while they have not been blown out, while they may not be able to say the same thing that Middlebury can, they can boast their own winning streak in its own right, and what they've been doing is pretty incredible as well.
So back to the Williams game, interesting to hear Coach Popp say that he thinks that Wall's going to give it a go. We knew that he had mono, and that he's been out for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Looks like he's going to come back. Such a dynamic player. He's a 6'6" guard who has ball handling abilities, really long, great defender, great passer, great rebounder, can guard guys on the inside and the outside. Really athletic player, presents a lot of matchup problems for Middlebury. Not sure really who they're going to put on him. And that makes winning on Saturday that much more difficult.
We're going to take a short break here. We're going to be joined after the break by Joey Kizel and James Jensen. Stay tuned. You're listening to WRMC 91.1 Middlebury College Radio.
I know she said it's alright, but you gon' make it up next time. I know she knows it's not right. There ain't no use in lying. Maybe she thinks I know something. Maybe she thinks it's fine. Or maybe she knows something I don't. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of trying. It seems to me that maybe it pretty much always means no. So don't tell me, you might just let it go. Oftentimes we're lazy. It seems to stand in my way. 'Cause no one likes to be let down. I know she loves the sunrise, no longer sees it with her sleeping eyes. And I know that when she said she's gonna try, well, it might not work because of other ties. And I know she usually has some other ties, and I wouldn't wanna break them. I wouldn't wanna break them. Maybe she'll help me to untie this, but until then, well, I'm gonna have to lie to you. It seems to me that maybe
Welcome back. You're listening to WRMC 91.1 Middlebury College Radio. This is Taking Our Talents to Battelle Beach. Joined on the radio show now by Joey Kizel and James Jensen. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Damon.
What's the state of mind of the team this week going into the NESCAC semifinals and hopefully the finals? You obviously you're playing Williams on Saturday. Not sure who the opponent might be on Sunday. How do you guys prepare for that kind of weekend?
We're just very excited to go up there, and obviously we lost to Williams a few weeks ago, so that's definitely motivation factor for us. So going into practice, we're just looking to improve every day and get ready for what's going to be a really good game on Saturday.
Yeah, and in terms of preparation, we've only right now we're just looking at Williams, and we're preparing to play against their offense because they're a very capable team. And, unfortunately we have lost to them earlier in the year, so we're looking to avenge that loss.
Williams plays a lot of zone on defense. Saw a lot of it last game, likely to see it again this game. Both of you really key in terms of breaking the zone. Joey, can you talk a little bit about how your dribble penetration in the zone can create open shots, create offense? And James, can you talk a little bit about last game, your success against the zone down low, how you can replicate that again Saturday?
Yeah, I think in terms of preparation for the game on Saturday, we've also been working on the zone offense just because I guess towards the end of the game we struggled against their zone, and I think even towards in the beginning of the game we weren't that comfortable against it because it was kind of like a different look, but it wasn't as magnified because it wasn't the end of the game where
we also got out and ran a little bit too, so we didn't they weren't able to set up their zone.
Exactly, but we're definitely working on that now, and I guess in practice we've been working on just penetrating the zone, and we feel that once we get into the middle of the zone, just like against any team, it's not just Williams, that's where all the good stuff can happen, just breaking it in and get easy looks in the paint or kick out threes, and I think that's when we're at our best.
Yeah, and like Joey said, we feel like the key is really just continue to move. We feel like towards the end of the game, the first time we lost to Williams, that we just stood around too much towards the end of the game. And if we can keep moving, and we have put some new stuff in practice, just I feel like we're too stagnant, then we could kind of fall back on some plays and keep the motion coming.
Joey, you scored 66 points in the last 3 games. How has your mindset changed offensively? Are you attacking more? Are you looking to get your own shot a little bit more here as the season comes down to sort of the end stretch?
I don't think I've been trying to score more. I think I've been trying to be a little more aggressive and trying to make more plays for the team, and I guess for some reason teams haven't been helping as much, so I feel like my shot has just been more open, and I guess if teams aren't going to hedge on ball screens or teams aren't going to help when I'm driving in the lane, then I'm going to finish, and if they do help, I'm going to make the right play and set up my teammates.
James, you told us once that before games, Coach Brown tells you to prepare to guard the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and especially in this game, your defensive versatility comes out. Or at least last time it came out, you guarded some of the guards, and you also guarded Michael Mayer, a 6'9" center. Can you talk about you as a player in general on defense being prepared to play outside wing scorers, dribble penetrators, as well as guys like Mayer, posting up with them, trying to battle with bigger, stronger guys?
Well, this weekend we'll see. Guarding Mayer is definitely going to be a team objective. I mean, he's probably, if not the best offensive big man, definitely one of the best in the conference. So, hopefully my goal is to just use quick feet, try to front him, and then I know that my teammates, be able to play solid help defense. And if I have that confidence, then I'm able to really get in front of him, and I know that if they try to lob it over the top, that they'll be there.
You guys just came off of a week ago now, a triple overtime loss against Amherst. An incredible game, crazy in so many different ways. Joey, you had a shot at the end of the third overtime to tie it from like 60 feet. Have you ever been a part of that game, or a part of a game like that before? And what were you thinking as that shot left your hand, and what would the reaction have been if it had gone in as it nearly did?
Well, I guess that the Saturday night, we were just hanging out. We were watching the Notre Dame Louisville game, so we were kind of involved in a game similar to that, and you would never expect anything like that to happen, and let alone two of those games in 3 or 4 days was crazy. And
we even got some SportsCenter coverage.
Yeah, got the SportsCenter coverage too for the wrong reasons, but I mean, the triple overtime was crazy just because I think Pete and Jake, did you foul out?
No.
Jack maybe, yeah, so a bunch of guys fouled out, so we kind of were in a tough position, but I mean, we battled to the end, and I knew my shot had a chance, but
I thought it went in. I was running up the court. I was probably the second. Me and a guy on Amherst were right there, and I saw it hit the front rim. I couldn't believe it.
I mean, I thought it was gonna be crazy, but
the way that game was going, you figured it to go in.
Yeah.
If that shot had gone in to end triple overtime after Workman's play to end double overtime, SportsCenter could have put the two plays together. It would have been the top play of the week. Yeah, exactly.
Joe, you're within 30 points of 1,000 right now, probably not close to the top thing on your mind, but can you maybe talk a little bit about what it means that the program is going to have 3,000-point scorers this season, most likely, what it's been like to play with those two other guards going into your last postseason as a trio together?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't, like, when you were to characterize me, Jake, and Nolan as a backcourt, you would definitely say unselfish, like hard workers, and scoring really, I don't think would be the first thing you would say, but the fact that this could possibly happen for all three of us in 1 year is really incredible, because that's not our main objective when we step onto the court. It's really just about doing whatever it takes to win, whether it's defense, moving the ball, making the right play. But I mean, we're all capable scorers, and it's proved to be true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've also played with some prolific scoring big men.
Yeah.
So it's pretty. I mean, it's remarkable to even think that our guards score as much as well. We play with Locke and Sherry, and those two were beasts.
And Pete now.
And exactly, and Pete now.
James, if you had to describe your style of play, your game at large, how would you describe your game? And is there a player past or present or past in the NBA or in college that you like to watch and who you model your game after?
If I had to characterize my game, I would say improving. I'm just trying to get better in every aspect, really. I feel like I don't have to. You said it was versatile. I kind of like to think of myself like that. I feel like I could really get better at every aspect of the game. I don't have to have, one thing to really claim myself to. I'm trying to get better at everything as a whole. And fortunately, I want to have a complete game. But maybe we'll see by the end of the 4 years here if that happens. But that's what I would like, yeah.
Joey, after one of the losses this year, or maybe it was the Wesleyan game, we were talking after the game about taking the air out of the ball and how sometimes you get a little too hesitant at the end. And then in the Wesleyan game on Saturday, you guys went into the handoff offense, looked like you're going to do that again, and then with about 12 or 15 seconds on the shot clock, you got a handoff and you drove hard to the rim and finished. And then I think on the next possession, you hit a three somewhat early in the shot clock. Can you just talk about how important it is to remain a threat offensively throughout the entire shot clock at the end of the game, to keep attacking, to keep playing intentional, deliberate offensive basketball, especially with the lead at the end of the game?
Yeah, I think when we go into the four-corner set, you get in the mindset that, all right, we're going to stall and we're not going to shoot until there are 5 seconds left on the shot clock. And the point of that offense is to be deliberate and to get a good shot, but we need to be aggressive at every point in the game, because when we do try to stall too much, that's when bad things tend to happen.
I think it translates over to the defensive end as well.
Yeah.
If we don't have that aggressive mindset on the offensive end, then we might be playing as well on the defensive side.
Right. So when we do get into an offense like that, even though we're kind of just handing the ball off, we're still looking for the right moment to attack. And because when we draw the defense up like that, there's even more space to create. So it's definitely an offense that we're going to use towards the end of the game, but we're really not trying to stall at this point. We're trying to get a good shot.
Talk a little bit about the three seniors who now are going into their fourth NESCAC tournament, their fourth NESCAC semifinal. You guys as a team with the three of them over the last 4 years have qualified for the last three NESCAC finals with those guys on the court. What would it mean for them and for you to make it 4 straight years in the NESCAC finals?
I mean, it's just crazy to think that in such a good conference that you can make such a run. And I mean, even Williams last year, they had a slump, and I think the year before we came, so when we were seniors in high school and when the seniors now were freshmen, I don't think Amherst made the set. I'm not sure, but
they had a down year.
I know they had a down year. Just consistency has really made our program special, and
I mean, it's the best attribute you could have, really, is consistency.
Yeah, and I mean, consistency that is a tribute to what the seniors have done, and each year they've improved, they've gotten better, and they set the standard high for us. So we just want to give it one more shot with them, and hopefully we can make it our best run yet.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about you both individually evolving as leaders now that you're juniors? There's some guys in the rotation this year who don't have the postseason experience that you guys have, who are going to be called upon in big moments, and you guys now are a little bit seasoned in both NESCAC and NCAA play. What do you do, obviously not as captains, just in terms of setting the tone on and off the court, letting them know it's time to dial it in to play at the highest level possible at a point in the season like this?
I mean, I guess reflective on my game, but I really feel that, playing hard is contagious, and the harder I can go, and if my teammates see that, then they'll urge them to play just as hard, because you can see it in Joey's game too. He'll dive on the floor for a loose ball, and that may be the deciding factor in the game. A simple play like that, it will decide if we win or lose.
Right, yeah, I think it definitely starts in practice, just bring the right mindset, and every day you can improve and get better, and you just don't want to take days off, because at this point in the season there just isn't that much time left. So I think you realize how special it is and how privileged we are to have the opportunity to play for such a good team, such a good school, and we just want to keep getting better, and just the goals and the motivation that we have are what drives us.
At this point, heading into the weekend, is there one thing that you guys are telling yourselves that you need to do individually, and then maybe one thing as a team that you want to see the team do collectively this weekend to be successful?
I'm telling myself to rebound. I'm trying to get double-digit boards this weekend in both games.
I think individually it just depends on really how the defense is playing and how the offense is playing, and obviously we're going to be prepared against their offense and their defense, so it's just a matter of making plays on the spot and just really about focus more than anything. And that goes for me as well as the team.
Thank you both very much for joining us today. Best of luck this weekend. We'll obviously be following very closely and wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us.
James Jensen, Joey Kizel, juniors on the men's basketball team, 22-2 going into the NESCAC semifinal and final weekend. They've been playing tremendous basketball season long. 2 more games left before the NCAA tournament, and of course, obviously, it'll be great to watch.
Fans who are listening, if there's any way you can come down to those games, they're going to be great. Last season down there was a ton of fun. 2 years ago, I wasn't able to make it, but that was one of the 2 of the best games in Middlebury basketball history 2 years ago. This team's going to bring it again. I mean, 2 guys like that, so great to hear from. The focus, the intensity, the selflessness that they're bringing to the table. And you hear that from everyone on the team. It's a rewarding team to root for. It's a great team to watch play and then to talk to afterwards, to hear their attitudes and to see those reflected on the court.
Yeah, it's so rare that you see a team that is full of guys who are like that. So many teams rely on the leadership of one or two players or a senior class who embody or raise the level of focus and intensity and play of the team. But when you look at this team, it's 1 through 12, 1 through 15. They're all that way. They all have a common goal, and like you heard Joey say, it's next man up mentality, in the sense that if he gets played a certain way, he's going to find the open man. He's going to find the guy with the best look, the best chance to score, and that's how this team has always played. It doesn't matter. They have no agenda other than to win, and it's as refreshing as you can really hear anything from any team, because it is so genuine and so apparent that this team only wants to win.
And then James Jensen, you hear him talk about something like playing hard, diving for loose balls. He says Joey does it. What he doesn't mention is that he's won games with that kind of play. If you remember the Wesleyan game in January, on 2 of the first 3 possessions in overtime, he was on the floor diving in front of passes, forcing turnovers. That was a game that ended up being a 1-point game, so obviously that came back into play big time. He's a guy who really knows his role on the team. You hear his goal is to rebound and to play hard defense. That's what he brings to the team, and he's one of the best defenders in the conference. And that's what he thrives on. That's what he's driven to succeed at this weekend. I mean, in addition to his very important offensive contributions, but that he knows and is excited to go into this game and set the tone defensively and be a leader through hard work and through example is a reflection of the attitude of everyone on the team, doing their job to the highest degree possible with the team goal in mind.
Under 48 or less than 48 hours remaining before they take the court against Williams on Saturday. This is a Williams team. We haven't spent that much time talking about them. You and I predicted Williams to win the NESCAC, or to go at least to be the regular season champions. Though there is no regular season champion crown, but we expected them to be the 1 seed at the time of this tournament. We were nearly right. They went 9-1 in conference play. They're a really talented team. They do lack depth, but they have a number of guys who can beat you in a ton of different ways. Obviously, Michael Mayer, we've spoken about him at length, and Nate Robertson, who's a great point guard, really a smart player. They call him the General. That's his nickname, because it gives you a good sense of what he does on the floor.
Do they really call him the General?
Well, I've certainly heard him. No, well, I mean, I've heard him referred that way by many Williams fans. So the broadcasters,
good name.
Yeah.
Too bad we didn't get a broadcast.
We talked about this last year. You don't remember. But the one guy who we haven't really mentioned is Taylor Epley. And Taylor Epley earlier this season was leading the NESCAC in scoring. He finished over 16 points per game or something like that on the season. He's a tremendously talented 2-3 hybrid combo player.
3-4.
Or 3-4, I guess, with great range, who was utterly shut down the last time these two teams played by Nolan Thompson, which is probably why we haven't spoken about him nearly as much. But he's the kind of player who is incredibly dangerous. He scored 26 a year ago against Middlebury during the regular season when they didn't really have an answer for him. So he's a very talented shooter, a great scorer, and Middlebury is going to have to dial it up against him and his teammates in what will be a great matchup on Saturday.
Yeah, and we're not sure who Nolan Thompson's going to guard in this game either. And so if he ends up guarding, for example, Nate Robertson, who scored 19 points in each of the last 2 games and presents a really tough matchup for Middlebury at the point guard, then Taylor Epley could be getting those open looks, and we could be remembering him pretty quickly, because once he gets going, him and Clem are both very dangerous outside shooters. Taylor Epley's got more of an inside-out game, making him even tougher to guard. And when those guys get going, and then Robertson and Mayer get their pick and roll game going, certainly one of the best offenses in the country when everything's clicking with those starting five, especially if Wall's back and playing. And a really tough matchup for Middlebury defensively, all five of those guys. Middlebury doesn't have a starting five that matches up great with those guys because they have because they have so many outside shooters to go along with Mayer.
Middlebury, we're going to see Williams play in a 3-2 zone, but Middlebury won't be able to, a 2-3 zone, I should say, but Middlebury won't be able to match that the other way. We may see it for possessions possibly, but with Clem, Epley, and even Mayer out on the floor, they have a number of really good 3-point shooters, and so the Middlebury will almost certainly be in man-to-man defense throughout the course of the game, which, again, like you said, presents a ton of problems. Michael Mayer is incredibly difficult to guard one-on-one, and as Alex Popp said earlier on the show, he's surrounded by those shooters, so it's very hard to give him help. What we saw last year, actually, Jack Roberts did a great job of neutralizing Michael Mayer for one half of a game. That's the problem, though, is it's going to be a 40-minute basketball game, maybe more. And so Middlebury's going to have to give him a number of different looks, but I think Roberts and Jensen in particular are going to be big keys to this game.
If Roberts and Jensen can stay out of foul trouble, you can sustain runs of Michael Mayer, right? And you're not going to be able to avoid that. He's going to have times where he scores 3 straight looking easy layups because his post moves are so good. It's about over the course of the game giving him enough trouble so that he's in that 12 to 16 scoring range instead of the 20 to 25 scoring range. Because I think that the concern would be if he gets going and no one can stop him, and then the outside shooting lights up because you have to adjust to stop them. So for Jensen and Roberts, and maybe some Churchill as well, who's been playing more and more, it's going to be about just limiting the damage with Michael Mayer and containing the offense while still stopping Mayer, and not making him be such a problem that you have to adjust the game plan, take guys off of shooters, create lanes for Robertson, and create spot up jumpers for Clem and Epley.
And the other guy that we haven't really spoken about on the other end is Peter Lynch. And as we said, I think Lynch had 16 points in 16 minutes the last time these teams played.
It's interesting. I think both teams match up really poorly with each other on the defensive side, and I think Peter Lynch is a big part of it because Peter Lynch is such a great offensive post player, and there's no one on Williams who can guard him because they have the athletic 6'4" Taylor Epley at the 4, and Mayer is going to be guarding the 5 most likely, and Mayer also struggles defensively. And then when you get on the other side, Peter Lynch lacks the athleticism to stick with someone like Taylor Epley on the perimeter,
size to match up with Mayer.
And so it's whose marginal advantage is greater. And last time when he was on the court, it was Peter Lynch because he was so effective on offense against Epley and Mayer, those guys who either aren't big enough to stick with him, or in Mayer's case, play defense, don't want to foul on defense, and aren't great defensive players.
And that's why we're going to see Williams play about as much zone as Middlebury plays man. Yeah. Simply because Michael Mayer is so valuable to them offensively that they can't risk him picking up fouls on the defensive end, and on top of that, he's not a great defender, so they are going to have to hide him in that zone a little bit. And Peter Lynch and James Jensen really found the soft spots down low in that zone and made a bunch of big shots. And if Peter Lynch can stay out of foul trouble on the other end, and part of what's going to be helpful there is that he's going to be matching up now probably with John Weinheimer, which will be a big plus when he's on the floor for Peter Lynch because he matches up better with Weinheimer. Weinheimer, though, has played very well since he's been instituted into the rotation or gotten more minutes in the rotation, and he is a banger. He's a hustler. He's the kind of guy who can frustrate Peter Lynch, or certainly those two will be playing that game back and forth as we saw Peter Lynch and Rasheed Epps do with Wesley in the last week. Lynch has gone up against a lot of those 6'4" to 6'6" bangers who get it down low and really try to get whatever comparative advantage they can with and inside and outside the rules. And I don't think it's unfair to say that Peter Lynch does the same thing on the other end. Obviously that's what the game is all about. And when you're crafty and you're smart and you're physical the way that Lynch and a lot of those other guys are, you're trying to use whatever you can to gain some kind of advantage. And so there's a reason why Peter Lynch gets into foul trouble, is because he's doing that on one end and he's playing against other players on opposite teams who do it on the other.
Really hope he stays out of foul trouble. It's going to be a huge part of this game, both in the Williams game in the regular season and in the Wesleyan game. In the Amherst game 2 weekends ago, or a week and a half ago, I guess. It was on a Tuesday. The foul trouble for Peter, especially at the end, certainly hurt the team. He's too valuable of an offensive player to do that. He's got to do a better job of staying out of foul trouble because he's so good on offense. I mean, I don't know how we managed to go this long without talking about him when we were talking about all the guys who have been such a big part of this game. I think he's 6th in the country in field goal percentage right now. On any other team, he would be talked about a lot more, but there's so many weapons on this team, and Kizel and Thompson have been stepping up recently. But I think in this game, Lynch could reemerge as a top scoring top scoring option on offense because of the way that Williams matches up with him and because of the zone that he's likely to face.
It's the one thing that worries me about this matchup, and this is not from an X's and O's standpoint. This is speaking purely as a fan, because this isn't the way that teams think, so it's not necessarily helpful to talk about when you analyze a game, but this is the way that a lot of fans think about things, and the way that the media thinks about things often, is that we were terrified of this matchup the first time we played Williams, and obviously I think that you and I had overrated Williams, and that's not to put down their game. It's just that we thought that they were going to be the obvious top team in the NESCAC.
They also had been playing really hot,
right,
and cooled down a little bit before that game. And we thought that they were going to get back to their hot shooting ways,
right? And so we did not like that matchup at all the first time we played them. And now, at least in my mind, it seems impossible to imagine this team not playing Amherst on Sunday. And I think that, but this is why I'm saying this now. I think that that's how a lot of people feel, simply because when you think about the triple overtime game against Amherst, it feels like it has to. There has to be another matchup with them, right? It just seems like that has to be the case. And so I think that there are a lot of people who are looking forward to Sunday. And I'm in no way am I saying that the team is doing this, because they're certainly not. But the way that fans think, I think in this case is worrying me, that the expectations are that we're definitely going to be playing on Sunday. And I think that
they're the kinds of games that you lose, especially to a great team like Williams.
Right. And yeah, exactly. I mean, we probably still think more highly of Williams than do other people, but this is a very talented Williams team, and that scares me.
Right, and they have the best offensive player on the court in Michael Mayer, and any time that you have the best offensive player in the court, you are. You're at an advantage. I mean, Bill Simmons talks about it. Winning a playoff series when you don't have the best player is really hard, and that's what Williams has.
Well, the best offensive player.
Yeah, I know. But especially someone so unique as Michael Mayer, so difficult to match up with. And I'm sure that Williams knows that people are down on them right now, and that people are kind of counting them out early. Especially with the Wall injury, but if he's coming back, and if they're dialed in with Robertson's leadership and his determination, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they come out and win this game on Saturday. And that's the nice thing about being a Middlebury basketball fan is as a fan, sometimes you start to feel confident about the next game, but you also know that the team never does,
right,
and that they recognize what a tough matchup Williams is, and that they're not going to come out expecting the game to win itself.
We've somehow talked ourselves out, yeah.
Well, that's good, because there's a minute left. Good thing we didn't sign up for a 2-hour show. We would have just dead air for 31 minutes.
Yeah, but it's a bad omen when we finish, our effort ends a minute short,
Yeah. Well,
when we can't execute over the final minute of the show, we're gonna look back on it. Yeah, exactly. We really should have gotten the handoff offense for like 30 seconds in there. It would have made this last minute less daunting.
Thank God we're not the ones who are going to be on the court for more reasons than that.
Middlebury travels to Amherst Saturday. Well, they'll be leaving Friday, but they're playing Saturday against Williams.
As Coach Popp said, get down there early because there's going to be snow. I'm sure Amherst ordered the snowstorm to stop all you Middlebury fans from getting down and changing the tone of the game. Their student section wants the monopoly, but we're from Middlebury, so like that stuff shouldn't stop us, right? We're kind of Vermonters. I mean, I'm a Vermonter, but most people here are just kind of Vermonters. But they should like driving in snow. Get down there, be loud. If you can't make it, watch the game online. These are guys who really appreciate the support from the fans here. And if you have any interest in sports, then it'll be worth your while because it's going to be 1 or 2 great basketball games.
Thanks for tuning in. This is our first show of the spring semester, an all Middlebury basketball show. It's taking our talents to Battelle Beach. We'll be back next Thursday, hopefully recapping a great weekend of Middlebury basketball, both the men and the women, of course, playing on Saturday along with the men's ice hockey team. If you need any other reason to get down to Amherst, Massachusetts for this weekend. So make the trip down and we'll recap things with you on Thursday and hopefully preview a home NCAA tournament game next weekend. Thanks for tuning in. As always, Jeff Hetzel, Damon Hathaway taking our talents to Battelle Beach. We'll be back next week.